Barry Humphries, Australian comedian best known for alter ego Dame Edna Everage, dies at age 89. The Australian comedian Barry Humphries, best known for his drag character Dame Edna Everage, has died at the age of 89. He was completely himself until the very end, never losing his brilliant mind, his unique wit, and generosity of spirit, his family said in a statement. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese paid tribute in a tweet, calling him a great wit, satirist, writer, and an absolute one of a kind. He followed up with a tribute statement, calling Humphries a great Australian and a comic genius. He's one of the most loved of Australians, and I pay tribute to him today, to his enormous contribution to Australia, Albanese said at a press conference in Brisbane. Barry Humphries, through his 89 years, made an enormous contribution to Australia and also showcased that uniquely Australian sense of humor to the world, Albanese added. The entertainer had been readmitted to hospital on Wednesday for complications following hip surgery last month, the Sydney Morning Herald reported. Humphries had a hip replacement following a fall in February. Born in Melbourne, Australia in 1934, Humphries created the character of housewife Edna Everage in 1955 as a social satire. The character became a huge hit in the 1970s when Humphries brought the act to London's West End and appeared in a host of productions, TV shows, and chat shows. Before Edna made it big, Humphries appeared in numerous West End productions including Oliver and Maggie Way in the 1960s. Known for her lilac-colored hair, diamante-encrusted cat glasses, and catchphrases such as "Hello Possums," Edna quickly became a national treasure. Throughout the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, Humphries landed a series of TV talk shows, specials, and films as Dame Edna and his other alter egos, Les Patterson and Sandy Stone, among them the Dame Edna Experience in 1987. Humphries, whose illustrious career spanned more than 60 years, has been awarded several honors. In 1982, Humphries was made an Officer of the Order of Australia for his services to theatre, and in 2007, the Queen made him a Commander of the Order of the British Empire for his contribution to the arts. In 2000, Humphries won a special Tony Award for his Broadway show Dame Edna, The Royal Tour, officially breaking into the US market. He also appeared as Edna in the US drama Ally McBeal in 2001. An actor, director, and scriptwriter, Humphries also authored several books, novels, autobiographies, and plays, and was a keen landscape painter. In 2011, Humphries appeared on CNN as Dame Edna alongside Piers Morgan to offer commentary on the royal wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton, saying, "I'm a teeny bit bored." Humphries toured in the UK in 2022, then, aged 88, recounted his life stories and inspirations in a set called The Man Behind the Mask. His career hasn't been without controversy. In 2019, the Melbourne International Comedy Festival dropped their prestigious Barry Award, named after the comedian, following controversial comments Humphries made to The Spectator the year before regarding transgender people, according to CNN affiliate 7 News. In an interview with the paper, Humphries drew fire for describing being transgender as a fashion. Humphries later denied being transphobic and said that comments were taken out of context. Humphries is survived by his wife, Lizzie Spender, and 4 children. Humphries was born on February 17, 1934, in the suburb of Kew in Melbourne, Victoria, the son of Eric Humphries, a construction manager, and his wife Louisa Agnes. His grandfather was an immigrant to Australia from Manchester, England. His father was well-to-do, and Barry grew up in a clean, tasteful, and modern suburban home on Crystal Street, Camberwell, the one of Melbourne's new garden suburbs. His early home life set the pattern for his eventual stage career. His father in particular spent little time with him, and Humphries spent hours playing a dress-up in the back garden. Disguising myself as a different character, and I had a whole box of dress-up clothes. Red Indian, sailor suit, Chinese costume, and I was very spoiled in that way. I also found out that entertaining people gave me a great sense of release. Making people laugh was a very good way of befriending them. People couldn't hit you if they were laughing. His parents nicknamed him Sunny Sam, and his early childhood was happy and uneventful. However, in his teens, Humphrey began to rebel against the strictures of conventional suburban life by becoming artistic, much to the dismay of his parents who, despite their affluence, distrusted art. A key event took place when he was 9. His mother gave all his books to the Salvation Army, cheerfully explaining, "But you've read them, Barry." Humphries responded by becoming a voracious reader, a collector of rare books, a painter, a theater fan, and a surrealist. Dressing up in a black cloak, black Homburg, and masquerade eyes, he invented his first sustained character, Dr. Aaron Azimuth, agent provocateur, dandy, and dadaist. Humphries had written and performed songs and sketches in university revues, so after leaving university, he joined the newly formed Melbourne Theatre Company. It was at this point that he created the first incarnation of what became his best-known character, Edna Everage. The first stage sketch to feature Mrs. Norm Everage, called Olympic Hostess, premiered at Melbourne University's Union Theatre on 13 December 1955. In his award-winning autobiography, More Please, in 1992, Humphries related that he had created a character similar to Edna in the back of a bus while touring country Victoria in the 12th night with the MTC at the age of 20. He credited his then mentor Peter O'Shaughnessy that without his nurturing and promotion, the character of Edna Everage would have been nipped in the bud after 1956 and never come to flower, while the character of Sandy Stone would never have taken shape as a presence on the stage. In 1957, Humphries moved to Sydney and joined Sydney's Phillip Street Theatre, which became Australia's leading venue for revue and satirical comedy over the next decade. His first appearance at Phillip Street was in a satirical revue 2 to 1, starring veteran Australian music star Max Oldacher, with a cast including Humphries and future number 96 star Wendy Blacklock. Although he had originally assumed Edna's debut Melbourne appearance would be a one-off, Humphries decided to revive Olympic Hostess for Phillip Street, and its success helped to launch what became a 50-year career for the self-proclaimed housewife superstar. The next Phillip Street revue was Around the Loop, which again teamed Oldacher, Gordon Chatter, Blacklock and Humphries, plus newcomer June Salter. Humphries revived the Edna character for what he said would be the last time, and the revue proved to be a major hit, playing 8 shows a week for 14 months. During this period, Humphries was living near Bondi, and while out walking one day, he had a chance meeting with an elderly man who had a high, scratchy voice and pedantic manner of speech. This encounter inspired the creation of another of Humphries' most enduring characters, Sandy Stone. In September 1957, Humphries appeared as Estragon in Waiting for Godot, an Australian first production of the Samuel Beckett play at the Arrow Theatre in Melbourne, directed by Peter O'Shaughnessy, who played Vladimir. In 1958, Humphries and O'Shaughnessy collaborated on and appeared in the Rock and Reel Revue at the New Theatre in Melbourne, where Humphries brought the characters of Miss Everage and Sandy Stone into the sight of Melbourne audiences. In the same year, Humphries made his first commercial recording, the EP Wildlife in Suburbia, which featured linear notes by his friend, the modernist architect and writer Robin Boyd. From the late 1960s, Humphries appeared in numerous films, mostly in supporting or cameo roles. His credits included Bedazzled, the UK sex comedy Percy's Progress, David Baker's The Great McCarthy, and Bruce Beresford's Barry Mackenzie Holds His Own, in which Edna was made a dame by then Australian Prime Minister Gough Whitlam. Other film credits included Side by Side and The Getting of Wisdom. Same year, he had a cameo as Edna in the Robert Stigwood musical film Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which became infamous as one of the biggest film flops of the decade, followed in 1981 by his part as the fake blind TV show host Bert Schnick in Shock Treatment, the sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Humphries was more successful with his featured role as Richard Dean in The Mr. Fisher of Geneva. This was followed by Howling 3, a cameo as Rupert Murdoch in the miniseries Selling Hitler with Alexis Sale, a 3-role cameo in Philip Morris horror satire Pterodactyl Woman from Beverly Hills, the role of Count Metternich in Immortal Beloved, as well as roles in The Leading Man, the Spice Girls film Spice World, the Australian feature Welcome to Whoop Whoop, and Nicholas Nickleby, in which he donned female garb to play Nathan Lane's wife. Humphries featured in various roles in comedy performance films, including The Secret Policeman's Other Ball and A Night of Comic Relief 2. In 1987, he starred as Leigh Patterson in one of his own rare flops, The Disastrous Leigh Patterson Saves the World, directed by George C. Miller of Man from Snowy River fame and co-written by Humphries and his third wife, Diane Milstead. Barry Humphries spent final days with comedian friend Rob Brydon and his last words before he died. There comes a time when we realize that our parents cannot save themselves or save us, that everyone who wades through time eventually gets dragged out to sea by the undertow.